Well, a couple of things happened that were different, and Annie mentioned it. On past occasions, we've never got to the second stage, which is the full presentation of evidence, taped and confirmed and taken down in writing by the police officers. That was the first time in 150 attempts that we've ever got to that stage. And we wanted them to give us copies of that, and they said, no, we can't do it just yet, but it will be used, if it's used in court, then it's there and available for you. Now, talking to those two police officers, when we first started, it was quite obvious that they knew very little about the laws of war, even though it is their specialist unit in the Counter Terrorism group in Scotland Yard. They knew very little. However, as we went through it, explaining what the law says and trying to get their understanding of what that means, it became clear that the penny was dropping and they were starting to realize, yes, this is a crime. If it says in law it is a crime of genocide if A, B, C and D occur, and we give them evidence that A, B, C and D have occurred, then they're going to have to do something about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you a question. To come back to the point that British citizens don't know the law and that laws pass without our knowledge and all that kind of thing. With regard to MPs, is it true that you sign an oath to uphold law, both domestic and international law, when you become an MP? Yeah. So I would like to ask you, I know you voted against the war, what you are doing to tell the British public that it's against the law to pay tax under Article 25 of the Statute of Rome?
I work at Conscience, the organisation Conscience, which supports those people who withdraw their taxes, that element of their taxes who refuse to support, that are allocated to weapons in the military. And so supported Conscience in their campaign and supported a 10-minute rule bill to change the law to enable that to happen. Unfortunately, that was voted down.
Do you tell your constituents, have you sent out any briefings about the law of war since...
yes, and I held public meetings in my constituency. Yeah,
and you tell them it's against the law to pay tax to provide the means?
With the Conscience campaign, I give them the information that's available around what I think...
That's with the Conscience
campaign. Let me finish. Based upon well, it's with my constituency as well, because I've held meetings in my constituency. Based upon what I think is their rights. And I think they have a right to withhold that element of their taxes, which goes towards the war, because I believe it's illegal. So yes, I've done those meetings.
So how much is the element of tax that goes towards war then?
How
do you decide?
I can't give you the exact figure, but Conscience did a calculation on it, which is quite a lot. And also the government have sort of hedged the figures, particularly around the cost of Iraq, which we think now is 6 to 7 billion, but it must probably more.
Can I add one little thing to that question? There's an important point, and that is that Conscience have been working for 40 years on the basis of withholding tax on a matter of conscience. Since 2001, it has been a criminal offence to pay tax, and that is the bit that people do not know. And that's the bit that we must get clear around this country. It is now a criminal offence to assist an act of genocide. So every tax payment that goes into the government that is used by the government in any way it chooses but contributes partly to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan is a criminal offence under the International Criminal Court Act 2001.
And how can they do that? How can they avoid paying tax? I understand there's a mechanism
with extreme difficulty.
Paying into court. But Chris, could you comment on that? There's a mechanism, isn't there, for paying your tax into court?
Well, that's a very simple one. Yes, just organise with a local court to say no. I want to put this tax into court for the court to hold it until these issues are decided in court and whether or not it is a criminal offence. But you need to organise that.
It's very important because people might not want to stop paying tax completely, but they would happily pay it into court.
Absolutely.
Can I just quickly finish off that what Elizabeth asked?
Look,
it's just one more thing. Do you ever appear on the TV?
I seek to appear on the TV when necessary.
If you're doing your utmost to get this news out to people that it's against the law to pay tax, wouldn't it be best to do it on national media and actually...
I think we've got them here.
Yeah. But I mean, like, do you use every opportunity?
Well, we are.
Today?
Yeah, we are.
On a regular basis.
On a regular basis?
Yes.
In view of the fact that we now know that the advice given by the last Attorney General was false and illegal, would you be able to ask questions in Parliament to the other members of Parliament and on what basis Lord Goldsmith gave us
If you recall, interestingly enough, it was in this room on the day of the debate, parliamentary debate on the war, that a group of barristers advised MPs about the illegality of the war.
Will you be able to ask that question now?
Let me finish.
Sorry.
Yeah. And since then, there have been a range of MPs, including myself, who have been raising that in Parliament. You remember Bob Marshall-Andrews, I think in the debate 6 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, raised the issue yet again and challenged the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair, about the different legal advice that was provided. The legal advice that changed from Goldsmith, if you remember, within 48 hours. That was given to the Cabinet and then to Parliament. So yes, we'll be going back over. And following the press conference today, we'll be putting more parliamentary questions down as well. Gives us the let's pay tribute to make all history. What their dogged pursuit has done has opened this issue up again. Now, whether the Met Press Office call this an investigation or not, this is a significant breakthrough to have serious consideration of these allegations by specialist officers of the Metropolitan Police. That gives us the opportunity of then raising this more widely and opening that debate up again. But let's pay tribute to those MPs that have. Adam Price couldn't make it here today, he's in Cardiff, but he's been consistently pursuing it. Bob Marshall-Andrews and others. It's been on a cross-party basis.
But we don't see MPs with this sort of upholding of
let me assure you. Okay.
We don't see them on the mass media. We don't see them speaking about this issue.
That's partly to do with what's covered in the mass media, isn't it? Basically, as well. Sorry, there was someone at the back. Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask about the support from your colleagues in Parliament for this initiative, given that it's only been about 5 or 6 days since we decided to do this press conference.
All the information has been Chris has provided has been circulated round. Well, we'll test it out by putting another early day motion down and raising it again with questions or something. But if you remember, don't underestimate some of the work that's been done by people like Adam Price and others about consistent. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Madam Morningstar.
Hi.
Have you done anything at all to inform the troops in the field as to the crimes of war that you've elaborated on today?
No is the answer to that, but I think it's the most important thing of all, and I certainly was planning to put the next set of evidence in relation to the offences committed by the Chiefs of Staff. Because if we get one military officer understanding that they have committed genocide, then I think this war will stop immediately. They are liable to be prosecuted in the International Criminal Court, and every soldier and every officer has committed a criminal offence.
Chris, just a quick one. Can you enlighten us all as to the position of war law being taught at Sandhurst?
Well, that would be an excellent opportunity. I think the big underlying problem behind all of this is that no one in this country knows the laws of war. So if there's anything anyone can do to get these passed round so that people know them by heart, then we'll start to get action. And there's nobody more important than our armed forces. They need to know when they are committing a crime. And our Air Force, for instance, they love bombing from a distance. They have no understanding whatsoever of the hundreds of criminal offences they are committing every time they release a cluster bomb.
Oh, are we over time?
You are by half an hour.
Okay, sorry about that.
People outside waiting.
Okay, we'll move out. We're committing an offence. Thank everyone for coming along. Thank Make War History for their dogged campaign. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't realise. No, you're not.